For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are here live. I am from Waco, Texas, and we have a very special guest. She's based out of Nashville, but she is currently in Schaumburg, Illinois. Brina, how's it going today?
Going pretty good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. What's first of all, let's start from the beginning here. What got you started in music?
Well, I was involved in music from a pretty young age. In kindergarten, my school had an early instrumental music program, so I learned how to play the violin. And so I think that kind of set a musical foundation for me as far as the way I heard and understood music. Even though, I might not have known everything, I had that foundation of playing the Zuki violin. And so throughout my life, I've been involved in singing. I did musicals in my town, and then at my high school, I was involved on the dance team as well. So I've always kind of been involved in music and the arts throughout my life. And then, as I got older, I started to explore the writing side of it. And by the time I was in high school, I wrote my very, very first song, and it kind of just caught on. It kind of combined the two things I really enjoyed, which was writing and music. And so, I was in college, I was tried out a couple different majors, and then my dream had always been to be a singer or performer. So I kind of realized that I either had to go for it now or never go for it. So I decided to, after graduation, move down to Nashville and see what I could do with that. And it's been a really fun year of meeting new people, writing music, playing out, recording, doing all kinds of really fun stuff. So it's definitely been a really fun adventure so far.
Awesome. And then where did you go to college?
University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
Okay, cool. And then, so you pretty much moved from Schaumburg to Lincoln to Nashville? And
yep.
Nice. What you kind of touched on this already a little bit, but what's your experience been like in Nashville so far?
Oh, Nashville has been amazing. I always tell people that it feels like living in Disney World. Like it's a magical place and it almost doesn't feel real. But for someone who loves music, being surrounded by music and creativity and, the collaborative environment that it is, everyone's, for the most part, is pretty genuine and nice and willing to lend a helping hand. So I've loved being in Nashville, and I've definitely learned a lot from other people and improved my writing and grown as an artist. So I love it. And of everywhere I've ever been, it feels the most where I belong. So it's been really awesome.
What's the how you've been in Nashville for about a year, correct?
Yeah, like a year and a half.
Year and a half.
A little over a year.
How's your music changed in that year and a half? Because Nashville is a very busy place for musicians, and I've heard a lot of musicians have gone through massive transformations from the time that they started in Nashville to the current time. How has your music kind of changed since you've gone or moved to Nashville?
I think it's definitely improved. I think I've absolutely have become a better writer just from collaborating with others. And, when I first moved there, I joined a group that does weekly song critiques. So, I get together with a group of people that have now become really good friends, and some of them have even become co-writers, and we've written new songs together. But just getting feedback from other writers has helped me learn and think of my songs in new and creative ways, which has been really fun. I recorded 4 new singles over the past year. So working with my producer, Mike Anderson, we've really been able to kind of hone in on what I want my sound to be and explore a lot of different things. So I think, I feel a lot more grounded in who I am and what my sound is, and, my writing itself, I feel like, has improved drastically just by being in a place with so many talented people who are willing to help and collaborate. So it's been a really fun transformation. I feel like it's a night and day difference from when I moved there to the songs I've put out now, and I feel like you can hear that difference if you compare the songs.
Yeah.
So it's been a really fun transition, but I don't think I've made like a drastic transformation as far as like
Okay.
my style or genre. Like at my core, I've always been myself, but I think I've definitely refined my craft and kind of pointed myself in the direction that I want to go.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, as long as you're staying true to yourself, that's a good place to be. You said that you've recorded 4 new singles this or since you moved down to Nashville. Are you working towards like releasing an EP, or are you just doing singles? What's kind of the
So
strategy?
those four were just kind of going to be their own singles. It was kind of a plan that I worked out with my producer. So that was kind of like last year's goal, was to just record all these singles, put them out, record a couple music videos, and I actually just released one of those music videos last night. So that's really exciting, and I have another one coming. So that was kind of my first big Nashville project, and then next steps would definitely be to do an EP, and I have like a plan for that. It's more so about just like the logistic, the funding, and all that stuff. But that's kind of just working my way up from putting out singles to doing an EP to maybe getting enough traction to where there's a demand for a full album. But yeah, the singles were their own project, and that project is pretty much complete now. And then I'm looking ahead because I've written so many songs this year to doing an EP, and I'm excited about um, how that will come to be in the next year or two. So pretty
Cool.
excited.
So, as far as the music video goes, how much of a creative input did you have in it, and how was that process for you?
It was really fun. I feel like I had a lot of creative input in it. I collaborated with Joshua Lockhart of Josh Lockhart Media. I posted in the Young Entertainment Professionals Facebook group asking for a videographer, and I got a million responses to
Mhm.
that. As I'm sure that group gets a lot of responses when most of the time. And yeah, I just went through all of them. I was really looking for something. I don't like to do anything halfway. So if I was going to invest in a music video, I wanted it to look professional, and is put together as something you would see from a big label artist with millions of dollars. So I was really, really particular about the kind of look I wanted. I wanted to be, cinematic and interesting, and I liked what he had to show. So I got together with him. We made a couple plans, and um, we ended up going with a theme that matched kind of the photo shoot I had previously done for the song.
Mhm.
So it's a kind of whimsical take on what the song is about, which is being in a new environment by yourself and kind of figuring out how to get through it. So I'm kind of dressed in this long blue flowy dress and have flowers, and it's kind of like kind of going for like a fairy look.
Mhm.
And we filmed this beautiful location in Hendersonville, kind of in the forests and on some rocky cliffs, and it was a really fun time, and it came together really well. And I'm just happy I was able to like visually represent what I wanted to um, when it came to like the song and its message. So it was really fun, really fun process. My first official music video ever, so a really fun experience, and I'm excited to make more in the future.
Yeah. No, it definitely looks really good. It was a really the videographer and edit the videographer did a really good job. The editing is really good, so it's definitely a really good first music video. So that you should be really excited about that, and hopefully people will show it a lot of love and share it and get all their friends to watch it. It's definitely a really good video. I've watched it a couple times since last night, and I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, it's man, it like because you see so many bad music videos, or not. I shouldn't say bad, low
Mhm.
budget.
Mhm.
And so it's like when one that somebody put a lot of time and effort and some money behind and had a complete thought, it's always really refreshing, especially on the independent level.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and that's something that was really important to me, going into it is like I didn't want to do it halfway. I didn't want to cut corners. Like if I was going to release a video, I wanted it to look as professionally done as possible. So I'm glad, I found Josh and we worked well together on it, and it was a really fun process.
Awesome. And how long ago did you shoot the music video?
It was actually, I think, last spring.
Okay.
We kind of we were gonna try and get it out sooner, but I think I just ran into some difficulties as far as like money and timing and things like that. So decided to hold off and put it on a later date so I can really get everything prepared and ready to launch it the way that I wanted to launch it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's been a long time coming. So to have it come out and have it be, received well and just finally be out there after I've been holding on to it for so long has been a really fun experience.
Nice. Yeah. And then obviously with the virus thing going on, it that kind of put not pushed back the release, but kind of slowed the release, I guess is a better way to say it. What was the original plan before the virus thing became a big issue, and how did you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so this actually really impacted my release. I had planned a show. I was going to do the Finally Friday showcase at Doghouse.
Hmm.
Um, and I was really excited about that because that was going to be my first time ever playing any of my music with a full band. Usually it's just me and like an acoustic guitar. So I, you know, got a full band together, coordinated everything, had the rehearsal, went to the store, got the dress. Like I planned everything so good, but the one thing I could not or I did
Plan
not
for.
plan for was a global pandemic
Yeah.
during all of that. So I held out, as it was an interesting process just because the news was changing rapidly every day. Like at
Hmm.
first it was like, oh, it's in China, now it's in Europe, now it's here, and now we're shutting everything down. And um yeah, so I mean, the venue itself is closed down, and I felt relieved about that just because as much as I wanted to put on the show, and I was actually going to debut the video at the end of the show, like they had it worked out with the venue where they're going to play it, and I was going to have family coming in, and it was like going to be a whole thing, but obviously health and safety of everyone comes first, so I was kind
Hmm.
of relieved that it was called off just because I didn't want to you know be trying to put on a show while there were safety concerns. I think, health is always the most important thing.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Obviously, I was, feeling a little disappointed just the way it all turned out because I had, planned it this way. But it's kind of poetic in a way just because the whole song is about being in an environment and not knowing what to do next and being scared and unprepared. So, if there is a silver lining, it's that I'm glad that having the video come out at this time where everyone is feeling a little scared and unprepared, that maybe it can give them a little hope or just like something positive to enjoy while all this other craziness is going on.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, that's once all the news started
That's what
coming.
I thought.
Oh yeah, thanks, Siri. Uh,
Siri agrees.
yes, Siri does agree. That was funny that's what she said. Uh, so obviously this has kind of devastated everybody, and I'm as I'm assuming it's canceled more than just the show last night. Like everything moving forward, it's kind of in standstill. So how are you kind of dealing with everything that's going on? How are you preparing to move forward? Are you like just in really writing mode, or are you exploring doing like the virtual shows? How are you kind of dealing with everything that's going on right
I'm I'm honestly just trying to take it a day at a time. This was kind of like my big show, so I don't have anything scheduled until April. I believe April 15th is my next show, like on the books, but that's again dependent on if the venues are going to be open or not.
Mhm.
But right now I am back home in Illinois, just visiting with my family. They were kind of feeling nervous about this whole situation and just how rapidly it was changing. So decided it'd probably be good to just stay here for a little bit and just kind of be with my family and see how the next couple of weeks go with all this virus stuff and just take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
Um, as far as me personally, I worked for a small business, so I did end up losing my day job. Um, so that's a little bit of a challenge, but I think maybe it's a sign that I can start taking more steps to doing music full time, even more than I had previously. So I'm kind of just trying to see that as an opportunity for a fresh start and get involved in some more things. While I have this downtime, I'm hoping that I can start getting a podcast together. Right now, I have a blog that
Mhm.
I do, and I kind of just detail, I call it the Nashville Diary, just kind of detail my experience moving to Nashville and trying to do music. It's a way for me to connect with fans and also be kind of like a guide for other artists that are trying to do what I'm doing. And I would love to expand upon that and do a podcast and expand on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. So, and yeah, there are a lot of virtual concerts and things going on that would be fun for me to get involved into as well. So I think we're all adapting and we're all going to figure out how to make the music keep the show on even
Yep.
if we're not doing it in person. So
Absolutely.
it'll be a good time, and I feel like I'll definitely write a song or two in between as well.
Yeah, it Illinois, like I was just talking to my buddy, he lives in southern Illinois, like over near like St. Louis, so like southwest Illinois, I guess technically is what it would be.
Hmm.
And he was telling me that y'all are going under the stay-at-home law or whatever it's called, where
Hmm.
unless you're an essential personnel, you can't leave your house, I guess.
Hmm.
Which would
Yeah.
that seems like an interesting thing that'll happen almost
Hmm.
nationwide here eventually as things kind of start to progress.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at Italy and the way it's gone there, I feel like it's inevitable. I mean, I believe obviously the state governments are gonna do do it at their own pace
Hmm.
unless there's greater acts by like Congress and the president and stuff like that. But
Yep.
that's kind of one of the reasons why my family wanted me to get here, just because they're worried about like the airport shutting down and just not having an avenue, and God forbid somebody gets sick or I get sick. um
Yeah.
we all just kind of want to be together, that so we can help each other. So yeah, I was just they
Mm.
wanted me to get in before anything else shut down or things got crazier. So
Yeah.
that was my reason for coming in, and now they're locking down Illinois. So
Yeah.
uh I'm sure Tennessee won't be far behind.
Yeah.
But
That's because
it's
before I moved out to Texas, I was living in Florida because that's where my parents are at currently. They live in
Mhm.
Florida now. And
Mhm.
they're like, "Yeah, we wish you were still living here because then while you're at home, because I was just recently told I had to start working from home.
Mhm.
So I'm quarantined from work.
Mhm.
And then my dad was like, well, that's happening company wide. And if you were in Florida, you could be hanging out with us in the Keys and at least have a nice place to be at while you're in quarantine. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, but I can't be 8 hours away. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
but, I think everybody's kind of dealing with this a little bit differently. And unfortunately, it's affecting the music industry a lot worse than a lot of other industries
Mhm.
because, independent musicians, as much as they can sell their merch, their albums, or singles, where they really make their money is doing live shows,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
because if they're lucky enough, they're getting paid by the venue to be there.
Mhm.
And any merch that they sell, so the fact that they can't do live shows is like, dang, it's not good.
Yeah, and it's definitely been hard to see, like, like friends and fellow musicians, like talking about how they're struggling and stuff. So I feel like the best thing to do is one, support the artists when they're doing their virtual shows, tips, buying merch, and just kind of, and same with like all small businesses really,
Hmm.
like, your local store, your local restaurant versus like, some of the larger places that have the funds to make it a week or two without work. It's hard, but I feel like that's, it kind of just demonstrates how necessary the arts are because
Hmm.
like right now that's all we have to like keep us going and stay positive when we have all this bad news. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and unfortunately, in a world where everything's so accessible, it's easy to put a lot of fear into people because they can click any link on social media and get news right at their fingertips. I was talking to a buddy of mine about that the other day about how easily accessible everything is, and maybe sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like there's a huge case for that to be made right now, but you know,
yeah,
it's it just kind of depending on what your thoughts are on everything, but like I think in some cases, just the media blows things out of proportion and makes things 100 times worse than they really are.
yeah, I mean, I think like the warnings in the news is warranted because we are kind of in an unprecedented time, and you want to make sure you're getting your news from
Tru-
valid sources. I think on
Trusted,
social
yeah,
media,
trusted
yeah,
news.
social media can, someone sharing something on Facebook, that's an unsubstantiated claim,
Hmm.
and then that circling, and then people getting confused and causing panic, blah blah. I think just like, having vigilance,
Hmm.
having common sense, taking the precautions that are being recommended by, the doctors and our local governments, and
Yep.
that not going out and buying a bajillion rolls of toilet paper, just like
Hmm.
kind of heeding the warnings, taking the precautions, doing the
Yeah.
social distancing, and then obviously like knowing your limits, like, you know, watch your news, but maybe you don't have it on all day long because
Yep.
obviously that can cause some anxiety. Like balancing it out, maybe watch some news and then watch a funny movie. I think just like taking everything, you know, a little bit at a time and not like overwhelming your
Hmm.
senses with things that are out of your control.
Yep, exactly. And then I also think perspective is a very big thing. Perspective and context.
Hmm.
Because like I've talked to a few different people and they're like, but all the people that are being diagnosed, like the number of people that are being diagnosed is skyrocketing in the US right now. We need to get this under control. And it's like,
Hmm.
yes, it's skyrocketing, but when you look at 4 days ago, how many tests we had available versus how many tests we have available now,
Hmm.
of course it's going to skyrocket. Like,
Hmm.
so let's
Yeah.
say 4 days ago, they only tested 100 people and 5 people out of those 100 tested positive. But
Hmm.
today they tested 1,000 people and 50 people tested positive.
Hmm.
You know, you just got to look at perspective.
Yeah. Context is definitely important.
Yep. But I took us down a really dark rabbit hole there, but
You're good. It's a boy. It's a topical. It's fine.
yep. But so what's the what's kind of your creative process like?
As far as like songwriting, my process usually, and it kind of differs, especially if I'm in a co-write. Like I really try to feed off of the other person and like their process. But when I'm writing songs by myself, especially, I like to I kind of visualize it as making a statue, right? You have a block of cement and then you're chipping out the parts that aren't the statue, and then you're left with this beautiful statue. So I'll begin by just writing like a million thoughts on a piece of paper or something like that. Like I'll just get out all my thoughts, and then I'll see, from that kind of explosion of ideas and random thoughts, what sticks out to me. And
Hmm.
then I'll take bits and pieces from that and like write a chorus or write a verse or something like that, or turn it into a poem and then think of a melody. So if I would have to describe a process, it would probably be that, just kind of starting large, then kind of chipping away, and then getting feedback on the song, and then refining it some more. Um, the other times, I'll just be inspired by something, and a song will just come. I feel like the longer you're in Nashville, like the more your brain starts to think in songwriting instead of
Mhm.
just normal thoughts.
Yeah.
So, but typically, I'll get a song, I'll bring it to the Song, which is a group of people that I meet with weekly to do feedback, and I I don't think I've put out a song that I haven't put through that editing process first. So that's always been pretty important to me. And then if for my studio stuff, bring it to my producer and we collaborate on that and build the instrumental and track the vocal and then do the harmonies and stuff, which is my favorite part. And then kind of just refine and edit until you feel like you can step away from the work.
Nice. And then, who would you say you draw influence from when you're writing? Who are some of your writing influences?
Um, I grew up with loving the Dixie Chicks, so I feel like I've always been kind of influenced by them. And um, I think as far as like artists artists that are pretty popular right now, I really like Kelsey Ballerini and Maren Morris and Casey Musgraves. So I think I definitely, I can find inspiration from their music, as far as like style and direction. But throughout everything, I always try to be my own person. So although can draw inspiration from other artists, I'm always just trying to be myself.
Nice, nice. That's like we talked earlier. Being honest with yourself and being
Mhm.
you is the core of good music, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, and then, so we've already talked about the music video and all the singles, and you're kind of working your way towards an EP, correct? That's kind of the next evolution of everything.
Yeah, yeah. So I've written a lot of songs this year, so that's definitely like the plan for the future is to do an EP. I think it's just more about, you know, funding it right
Hmm.
now is kind of what I'm working on doing. I kind of had a plan for that, but obviously, with the whole
Yeah.
pandemic situation, have to relook some of those plans.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal, and then just kind of taking the baby steps towards making that happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I did with my singles. So it's like, okay, what do I need to do, and then trying to figure out each little bit of the puzzle until you can come together with something else. And it's really good to be working in such a collaborative environment in Nashville because there are a lot of ways to collaborate with people, and trade your skills. Like I have a degree in journalism with an emphasis in advertising and public relations, so I've been able to um, do kind of barter deals with people where you help me with this, I'll help you with that. And so it's been really fun, and there's a lot of creative ways to make things happen. So I'm kind of just looking into all those options right now.
Sweet, sweet. Yeah, no, that's like, I mean, I think bartering, especially on the independent level, is a thing that people need to do more. Like,
Mhm.
it's especially when everybody is very tight on the finances, you
Mhm.
know, like bartering is the way to do it, in my opinion. Um, but for this upcoming project that you're working towards, is the plan to keep going with a full band, or do you kind of like the feel of doing like solo acoustic stuff?
Oh, I definitely want to be, as far as playing live shows, like I want to be graduating to playing more full band shows. And then as far as like the music, like, we did a lot just in the studio, and stuff like that. And my music is like a fusion of country and pop. So having elements of pop, for things that you can do in studio, um, and instruments and effects and synth and all of that, has been a really fun experimental process. But yeah, I think for me, like my end goal is like I want to be in having stadium shows. So
Hmm.
definitely want to I'm a very theatrical person, so kind of I enjoy spectacle. So the more elements and things I can add and to make the show bigger and louder and more, I don't know, more exciting,
Hmm.
the better for me. So as fun as it is to strip it down and have the acoustic guitar, that's definitely not where I see myself. As I continue to progress.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Like, and I mean, just working with a full band, it's definitely like a whole different feel. And at least because I've worked with or few different musicians that they would try and do both the solo acoustic stuff and a band. And it was just really like you'd go hear them one way and it's like, okay, that's cool. And then you'd hear them the other way and it's like, oh, wait a minute, it was
Hmm.
really jarring. But no, definitely the full band sound is a really cool way. And, and it's like, if that's what you want to do is do like the big stadium shows, that that's what you need is a full backing band. And, you know,
Yeah,
but
eventually I want to have like the band and like a bunch of dancers and fireworks and all that stuff. So it's just like adding elements one step at a time.
mhm.
And when I was planning my release show, uh, that was actually the first time at that rehearsal that I'd heard any of my songs like live with a full band. So that was like it was really exciting and magical, and I was so excited. So I'm excited to get once this all blows over, um, and we will get through this one way or
Yep,
another.
yep.
I'm excited to now I have those people in place who know my songs. I can find another time and place to make that happen because it sounded really cool and it was really fun.
Nice. And for the band that you were going to use for your release show last night, was that a band that you had put together, or how did you kind of select that band?
Yeah, so I have two acoustic guitar players, well, just guitar players in general. They can play any kind of guitar, but that regularly play with me when I do writers rounds or acoustic sets or things like that. So I kind of had a foundation of those two that were really helpful. Justin Love and Matt Klinkenbeard, really awesome friends, just really awesome people in general. So I told them how I wanted to do this, and they kind of helped me facilitate planning everything and writing out the charts and getting people together. And then yeah, I just reached out to some other people that I knew, Matt Gay on drums and Christian Ford on bass. And I reached out to a couple different people, and they were able to do it on the day of the show. So then I got them all together and coordinated a time for us to rehearse, and we had a rehearsal and we were all good to go for the show until all this happened. But yeah, I pretty much just found all the pieces and put them together and got something ready to go. And that was pretty fun too. And they were all really fun to work with.
And then you'd mentioned a couple of times that you're very theatrical. And I was reading on your bio there on the website that you were a theater kid growing up.
Yes, I definitely was. Ever since I was little, I was involved in musical theater.
Hmm.
I always liked attention and being like a ham. And so it
Nice.
just kind of translated pretty well into this other stuff.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Was it who initially introduced you to musical theater?
Trying to think, our park district put on Christmas plays. So I
Hmm.
was in like, It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street and
Yeah.
like so I did those when I was really really young, like grade school. And then as I got older I kept doing it, and then they had at the high school they had musicals, so I was involved in that. And so I think just being involved in my community from a young age, I just really liked, you know, music that told a story in a fun, energetic way, and usually, for the most part, had happy endings. So I've just always been kind of drawn to musical theater. And then when I was in college, I was actually a theater major for a semester. So I was taking acting classes and stuff like that. I did a study abroad trip in London where I
Oh,
took
nice.
acting an acting course at Shakespeare's Globe. So
Oh, nice.
that was pretty incredible experience. So yeah, I've just been, I don't know, I've always liked musical theater because it's larger than life. Like it takes real life stories, but it makes it more exciting and bigger and colorful. And so that's just always kind of, I feel like, my personality. Like if I could just run down the street singing and dancing all the time, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
So I feel like I just kind of found a home in musical theater, and I just love being on stage and in costume and under lights, and that's just my happy place.
nice. Is musical theater something that you still do from time to time, or have you kind of pulled back from it?
I haven't been in like a musical, like an actual show in a while. But it's still something that I enjoy and
Hmm.
something I'm definitely not opposed to doing. I've just been
So busy.
crazy busy. I barely have time to sleep, but
Yeah.
I know every time I go see a show, I'm like, oh, I need to go be in another show. Like for I think my mom got like surprise tickets for Phantom of the Opera. I finally got
Oh,
to
nice.
see, and like after I saw that, I was like, oh man, I need to be in another show. But I'm sure there'll be another one soon that I'm in, but I think I've been focusing a lot more on um, you know, my my own personal music and stuff like that. I enjoyed the songwriting and the playing out too, so um I feel like that's like the best fit for me, but I'll always at my core be a musical theater kid.
Nice. And so let's turn back to the four singles that you've released, and since you came to Nashville really quick.
Mhm.
Um, w- did how did you choose or why did you choose the specific songs that you did to release, and did you specifically write them knowing you were going to release them, or had you written a bunch of songs and you felt those four were kind of the best?
Yeah, so each one kind of actually has its own unique story. So when I first moved to Nashville, I really didn't have a plan. I was just like, I want to do music. This is Music City. Here I am. I
Hmm.
got a job in an ice cream shop. I lost that job 2 weeks into it. Was kind of like, what do I do now? And I met my producer, the guy who would go to produce my all of these singles. I met him
Hmm.
at a barbecue the night that I lost my job at the ice cream shop. So I was scheduled to work, but didn't have work. So I went to this barbecue and I met him, and his name is Mike Anderson. He's awesome. You should definitely interview him at some point because he's got some really cool stuff going on right now.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, so we met and he listened to my stuff and he thought, the stuff I had prior, which I've definitely improved since then, but he saw something in it, so he wanted to get together and we kind of just talked about what my goals were and what he could do, what could help with, and yeah, we collaborated. My very first single, Horizon, is one that we totally collaborated on. I kind of had written a little bit from that, flying out of Nashville, coming back to Chicago on an early morning, just seeing like the sunrise. And so I kind of had this idea and some of these lines already, and we totally co-wrote that one like in the studio. And then after we released that one and it did pretty well, we decided like, hey, we work well together. This is great. I ended up getting another job, so I was able to fund some other projects. So we decided to make three more, and yeah, I guess the rest was history.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
can I could talk about each one individually, or kind of that's just the overview, but
gotcha.
they kind of
No,
all have their own little stories to them.
yeah, gotcha. No, what was really interesting to me was that they that some of the songs had started picking up some steam in Chicago. They were featured on 95.5, I believe. If I was,
Yeah, so Big 95.5 Chicago is just an FM radio station that covers the Chicagoland area and I think parts of Indiana and Wisconsin too.
mhm.
So it's like kind of a big station. It reaches a lot of people, and they do this awesome thing called Backyard Country, where on Sunday nights they play music from local artists. So actually, there was my friend Michael Keys, who I've now gone on to co-write with and be in shows with. I saw him, and I typically on Instagram I'll just follow artists or people that are like friends of friends or connections, like that. So I followed him and I saw him post about that. So I messaged him like, "Oh, this is really cool. How did you get how did you get involved in that?" And then he just told me about it. So and I submitted my stuff and they picked it up and they've been playing me pretty regularly since then, and it's been a couple months. So yeah, that's been really exciting to hear your music on a radio station that you grew up listening to. It's like the coolest feeling ever, just like having it actually out on the radio waves is amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was it's especially in a place like Chicago where back in the late 90s, early mid 2000s, radio was still everything.
Hmm.
And so like listening like stuff, especially when I was growing up in the mid to late 90s in Chicago, listening to like B96 and
Hmm.
Kiss FM, just all those stations. And then my buddy who was a musician got one of his songs on that got played on one of the what was it, 102.3, I think. And
Hmm.
just hearing that, it was like, oh my god, these are stations that I grew up on.
Hmm.
It's that's, I can only imagine, as a fan of somebody that's been supporting somebody, it was amazing to me. I can only imagine what it'd be like for a musician to get their music played on a station that they're familiar with or grew up listening to, or you know
Yeah, it was surreal. I mean, just hearing them say my name and like having it pop up on the car, like my name and the picture of the song, like it just made it. There are things that you can do that make you feel like, all right, I'm a legitimate artist. Like,
mm,
I'm out here doing the work, and that's definitely one of them. Like, my stuff is deemed good enough to play on this radio station that plays, big time artists all the time. So it was really exciting. It's fun. My family made it fun. They did a little listening parties every time,
nice.
and
That's awesome. uh, so you'd mentioned that you also that you write a blog about your life experiences in Nashville.
yeah. So my blog is on my website, brinakmusic.com, and yeah, if you go to it, it dates all the way back to literally when I just moved to Nashville and kind of experiences that I've had along the way. And it's been fun to document all of that because it's completely unfiltered. Like if I'm feeling down and discouraged, like I write that in there because I want
Hmm.
people to get to know the real me, not just like an airbrushed image you see on Instagram, like the real me, my real experiences. And then, if there's another artist out there who's like, maybe I should move to Nashville, I wonder what it's like they can kind of read that as a blueprint. So it kind of
Hmm.
serves two purposes in that way. But
Absolutely.
it's really fun. It's a fun way to connect with people.
Nice. And you said you're trying to turn it into a podcast of some sort, or
Yeah, I've had that idea. And I think, with writing the blog, like I said, I am extremely busy. So
Mhm.
if I can turn it into a podcast too, where I can just, maybe update it on more frequently by doing the podcast versus just my blog. I write in as much as I can, but sometimes life happens faster than I can get it written down and edited and put
Mhm.
together. So I can kind of have the podcast to be kind of supportive of the blog, and then also put it on YouTube and just kind of work on that, like being omnipresent as far as like my content.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think the podcast would be a good expansion of the blog, and then people can read the blog to learn some more things or stuff like that. But yeah, I think something I'm going to use this downtime to, it's been an idea for a while. So now that I have this downtime with this pandemic stuff, I can maybe hunker down and figure out all the logistics and get it going.
Nice. Have you thought about maybe doing it more as your blog as like a vlog, like a YouTube thing? Because then you could kill three birds with one stone. You could, like, basically what you're writing in your blog, just speak it verbally into a camera and do like a daily vlogger type situation. So you're getting the video element, then you still have the ability to transcribe what you said in the video, and you have your blog, and then you can
Mhm.
turn the video into an audio format, and then you also have your podcast. So you're hitting on all three levels.
Yeah, that was kind of the thought
Okay.
behind it. So, sorry, my mom's like laughing in the other room. um, but yeah, that was kind of the thought, to be able to like take this one piece of content and make it available on all these different platforms.
Hmm.
And then the blog itself, I can maybe be a little more thoughtful and like expand on the things that I say in the YouTube video and the podcast. But yeah,
Absolutely.
that's, I think, I'm just being more available and accessible to potential fans and people that are interested in my story. So
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so we've talked about a lot of what you're currently working on and what you've worked on in the past. What do you see for yourself moving forward? What's the plan moving forward, like musically speaking? What's the hope, the aspiration? Just kind of tie it all together.
well, I think ultimately, one, I want to be able to be doing music full time and be thriving doing it. So, I want to be able to do music full time and be financially stable with it and be able to make investments in bigger projects and bigger things.
Mhm.
Um, I want the shows to get bigger and bigger. So as far as like, doing county county festivals, and then, taking that to like, an arena and then a stadium. Like, it's kind of
Mhm.
just like, you know, building an empire essentially, one step
Yeah,
at a time. Um, so as far as like long-term goals, like I feel like I'll feel like I really achieved what I want to achieve when I can sell out a stadium.
nice, awesome.
And I think
Is
until then, I'll keep chipping away at it and keep taking the baby steps it takes until I get there, and
Nice,
learning, having fun along the way.
absolutely. Is there one place that you absolutely would love to play? Like, is there one venue that you have your eyes set on as like the perfect place for you to play?
I think definitely like, Wrigley Field in Chicago would be awesome. Soldier Field in Chicago. Uh, Pinnacle Bank Arena in Nebraska. I feel like almost there. And I mean, I don't know if they really do shows at this like Memorial Stadium, like where
Hmm.
the Huskers play, but
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I feel like that one would mean a lot, just because I don't know. I think Nebraska sometimes gets overlooked, but like
Hmm.
because I've been there, went to school there, and because like I grew up a lot there and learned a lot there, and my heart is kind of there. Like, to be able to go there and do like a special show and like bring out you know the Scarlet Dance team and like Herbie Husker and like all that stuff, and do like a
Hmm.
special show for Nebraska would
Yep.
be really fun. Um, so yeah, I think, yeah, like just the places that are close to my heart. So like in Chicago and Nebraska would be fun to do like a big stadium show, and then maybe like sneak off and do like a tiny pop-up show in like a small town
Hmm.
bar somewhere, like
Abs-
while that big show is going on, like that. But like those little things are what would make it fun, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, you almost lost me there when you said Wrigley, but then you redeemed yourself with Soldier Field. So we're
Hey, come on, Wrigley's iconic. No matter
Ye-
what your
yeah,
your,
no,
your baseball team is.
you're right. You're right. It's definitely like, I mean, I've definitely been to Wrigley. I'm not that big of a South Sider that I won't ever go to the Wrigley, or I won't ever go to Wrigley Field, because it's actually a really cool place to be. And then when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, they have started redoing like concerts and stuff there, and a lot of big names have played there, so that's really cool as well.
Mm.
But I don't want to keep you too much longer, because you're spending time with your family and whatnot. And if it's anything like me and my time with my family, you don't get enough of it. So I'm going to ask you, we're going to kind of start working towards the end here, but I'm going to ask you a nice, big, vague question to kind of give you some freedom to take it where you want to take it. But why music?
Because it's what makes me excited to get up in the morning. It's so I feel like I'm meant to be doing. And I know that sounds cliche, but I feel like throughout my life, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've had a lot of struggles, a lot of triumphs, and the one thing that's been a constant throughout all of that has been my love for music and creating and performing and playing. And I feel like if I lose everything else but still have that, then I can still be happy. So it's kind of like that's that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing it. And I feel like I can take that and make a difference in other people's lives with it. So
Awesome.
mhm.
That's perfect.
Thanks.
So where's the where can everybody kind of find you on social media, and where can they stay up to date on all your new music releases and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm all over the place. You can find it all kind of consolidated on my website, brinakmusic.com. I'm on Instagram at Brina K Music, Twitter at Brina K Music, Facebook Brina K, TikTok Brina K Music. I'm pretty entertaining on there. It's pretty fun. You can find my YouTube channel Brina K, and at Brina K Music. I'm on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, like pretty much all of the streaming services you can think of. You can find me on there. And yeah, if you subscribe to my email list on my website, throughout this whole week, for example, I've been sending a lot of behind the scenes exclusive content that not everybody gets to see or doesn't get to see right away. So if you want to stay up to date on things and be one of the first people to know what exciting thing is coming next, then I definitely recommend signing up for my email list.
Nice, awesome. And I will make sure to post all that in the show notes so everybody knows exactly where to go and they have no excuse to go check out your music.
Exactly. Love it. Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. But once again, thank you so much for giving me the time to sit down and chat. I know we had to reschedule. We were supposed to do this earlier, but as I said in my live stream this morning, my computer was not playing nice this morning, so I had to reschedule a bunch of stuff. But we got it fixed. Everything's good. We were able to get the interview in, and no harm, no foul.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad everything's up and working, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely, I had an absolute blast. It went by really quick as they usually do. So that's always a good sign that it was a good interview if it went by really quick. Um, but once again, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys later.